Hi guys, I found something interesting here from the conservative treehorse.com. It's an article by Sundance. The bloom is off the ruse. Germany's Angela Merkel quietly retreating from Paris Climate Treaty. Angela Merkel is essentially the de facto global head of modern political liberalism. The central tenet, almost religiously based in its importance, is the lunacy within climate change. However, as most reasonable people have concluded, the climate discussions are more about controlled global economics than any actual concerns about planetary climatology. As a side note, this I totally agree with. Bottom line, it's the economics that really matter beyond all else. The backdrop: the day after President Trump announced his decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Treaty, the German auto sector immediately responded with a statement. We see the immediate admissions that climate is simply a tool to shape global economics within that reactionary auto industry statement. We need diesel. If we are to achieve our climate protection goals, she said, diesel cars emit the nitrogen dioxide that can cause breathing problems in high concentrations. She told one car owner that the more modest compensation received by German car owners compared with their U.S. counterparts was the result of very different legal systems in the two countries. Nevertheless, Germany's car makers needed to compensate owners whose cars were less valuable as a result of the scandal as best as possible, she said. Otherwise, the German car industry, which is admired the world over, could suffer substantial harm. The future of the auto sector, Germany's biggest exporter and provider of 800,000 jobs, has become a hot election issue as politicians blame executives and each other for the sector's battered reputation after Volkswagen's admission almost 2 years ago that it had cheated U.S. emissions tests. It says here, additionally, unless they abandon the religion of climate change, Germany will be faced with having to renegotiate trade deals with the U.S. while they remain encumbered with the regulatory burden of the Paris Treaty. I would think that having to negotiate with Donald Trump would be intimidating enough without having to be encumbered by a BS treaty that, saps everybody for their money. Chancellor Merkel is not a stupid woman. She knows the long-term ramifications to multicultural feel-goodisms and how they can undermine national economics. The fact that Merkel would be attempting to spin diesel fuel as an eco-friendly fuel source is beyond laughable. Germany is reliant on diesel fuel, which is created from heavy-grade oil, not refined light sweet crude. The majority of the heavy oil used within Europe comes from Libya and North Africa energy development contracts. You won't see this in the MSM, but Merkel's statement today, albeit against the backdrop of political survival, is another stark admission that Germany is retreating from the Paris Climate Treaty. The treaty is only viable as each Western economy agreed to jointly jump into an economic abyss while filling the coffers of the multinational banks who underwrite the entire premise behind the geopolitical wealth distribution. Thanks to President Trump, the U.S. is no longer willing to commit economic suicide. Turkey has also pulled away. The U.S. decision to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement means Turkey is less inclined to ratify the deal because the U.S. move jeopardizes compensation promised to developing companies. President Tayyip Erdogan said on Saturday, that when Turkey signed the accord, France had promised that Turkey would be eligible for compensation for some of the financial costs of compliance. I think we've all known all along that that's exactly what this was, a grab. So Angela Merkel finally came to her senses. Germany is the tip of the climate spear. It says here Angela Merkel can't openly retreat, yet Germany has to abandon the cult if they are to remain economically competitive. The statement from Mrs. Merkel today is a quiet, albeit visible move towards the exits. So without the Paris Climate Agreement, the globalist banksters just took a real big hit in the wallet, which is in their back pocket, so they got kicked in the ass at the same time. When you add Germany and the United States pulling out of the accord, along with all the other little countries that refused it, I think the Paris Climate Agreement and the globalists' most recent money grab is dead. Thank you.